Hi, dear. How are you today?
Hi, Hasna. How are you today?
Oh man, I think we got our identities all mixed up. I'm Badia,
And I'm Hasna.
and we're so glad that you guys are here and we're able to just give our views and thoughts on identity in our community where it pertains to African American, Black and Brown cultures. And I had the privilege of meeting Hasna in 2022 at a Beautiful You MRKH conference. And our relationship just took off from there. And it wasn't just on the fact that she's a brown woman, but that her spirit is good and that we had a lot of things in common. So I'm glad to be able to meet Hasna and have this opportunity today.
Right back at you, Badia. I feel privileged to know Badia because she's someone who, again, a woman of color, someone who is deeply rooted in her faith because that resonates with me as someone who's coming from a Muslim British Bangladeshi background. I Even though like we are across the pond from each other, Badia is in the US and I am in the UK. We have so many connections and so many links to each other. So yeah, that's a bit of our like how we know each other.
Yeah.
And talking about identities, um, how has MRKH impacted the way you see yourself, Badia?
Wow, well, it has truly impacted me in a great deal. I guess now, before I didn't see my strength. I didn't understand who I was. Of course, when it comes to sexuality, understanding what was afforded to me when it comes to my culture, the color of my skin. Um, it's just, it has impacted me in a huge way. And I think that when I first went to the doctor, and because I was diagnosed later, I was not diagnosed, I learned the name of the condition later in life. But I think MRKH and the whole experience has taught me a lot about my culture, about the differences and what we are afforded and what we're not afforded. And where the ball is dropped and where some people are just given opportunities. So it has impacted me greatly, so much so that I mean now today I'm giving some thoughts on my journey on how it has impacted me earlier on. So it's impacted me greatly to understand how doctors treat us differently, and it
Mm.
may not be the same experience for everybody, but that was my experience. And so, which tells me it may be someone else's experience too. So, yeah, it's impacted me greatly in a huge, huge way. Yeah. What about you? How has MRKH impacted you?
Well, my journey's been like quite a roller coaster, I'd say. Um, I didn't actually get the name MRKH until 2015. So at the age of 18, like I come from a very traditional, um, a very conservative Bangladeshi family.
Mhm.
And to be told at the age of 18 that, you don't have a womb and like other reproductive parts are undeveloped, that was a major hit on my identity because in my culture, we are told that, and we are sort of brought up with that belief that um, being a woman means being a wife, being a mother. And at the age of 18, to be told that that is no longer the case. And the way that it was actually the way that my diagnosis was given to me was like that was traumatic in itself. I was just told oh, you don't have a room, you don't have XYZ, go and, you know, the only thing that we can do is give you an operation. And I was pushed into like almost medical trauma.
Yeah.
So not only did I get a life-altering diagnosis that I can't have children in the traditional way, or it was handled by the doctors at the time
Mhm.
in a compassionate manner.
Yeah.
And then my family, in turn, they turned around and said, well, okay, if you're not a woman, you know, you don't have a womb, so you can't be a woman. So are you a man? Are you a woman? What are you? And that kind of formed the basis of how I started to see myself. And I was like shaken to the core. Obviously, I'd always had this picture in my mind that this is what my future will look like. Um, I love children, so I always envisioned a future in a traditional sense.
Yeah.
So then to suddenly be thrown this loophole,
Mhm.
it really messed with the way that I saw myself and the way that the doctors had broken the news to me, the way that my family reacted afterwards.
Mhm.
All of that impacted how I started to see myself. And I thought, I'm not even going to talk about it ever. I'm just going to pretend I'm normal. And I hate that word as well. But, you know, at the time, at the age of 18, I didn't have any other recourse. I wasn't given any appropriate care, like yourself, Badia. I didn't know about, you know, I wasn't offered psychological intervention,
Yeah.
which I think is absolutely crucial
Mm.
at the beginning stages and at every stage. Like to lean into therapy is such a massive thing that we as a community within the MRKH, the global network of people, we need to access that and we need to be allowed access to therapy, I think, right
Yes.
from the start.
Mhm.
So all of that just it's really impacted like the way that I saw myself. And being of a Muslim background, I had no family, no like I had nobody that I could speak to. So I would talk to God. Like that was where I could actually let out my grief and all of the bubbling emotions that I had.
Mhm.
So it's been, like I said, it's been a roller coaster. And then to find out in 2015 that I'm not the only one in the world. There's MRKH, it has a
Yeah.
name.
Yes.
For years, I called it my no womb condition because I didn't have a name for it.
Mhm.
So, given the correct like name, to know that I'm 1 in 5,000, not alone in the world, like my doctors had told me,
Mhm.
all of that just shifted, and I was like, yes, I'm not alone. And you know, look at where we are today, Badia. I've
Ah,
got a beautiful sister who
yes.
we may not be on the same um, like piece of land, but
Yes.
we're connected in so many other ways through MRKH Connect and Beautiful You. We both sit on the Beautiful You
Mm.
belonging team.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
both work closely within our own organizations and
Yes.
together
Mhm.
and out of it as well. Um, so yeah,
You know,
that's like the short version.
yeah. If I can just add one piece, and you just made me think of something, and which is just the lack of the information that I received. Therapy is so important.
Yeah,
So important. It's important, period, but especially to our community, MRKH community. And so for Black and Brown people to not receive proper diagnosis and understanding as to what this looks like as we journey on, I think it's just so it's unfortunate. Um, but then I have to look at a positive part on it because had my experience not been what it was, I probably wouldn't be on this speaking at a Connect Live, to be very, very honest. So I'm grateful for my journey. I don't want it for anybody else, but I am grateful for my journey, and I appreciate a lot about it, but it's a lot that has to be done. There's a lot that has to
Mhm.
be done to make sure that Black and brown people are able to get the proper care when it comes to therapy, dilation, surgery, whatever it is, just the choices that's out there.
Mhm.
Um, IVF, whatever it is that we choose to do, please give us that information because I am one that was not afforded that. But yeah, I just wanted to say that
Yeah,
again
and
because it's so
I
important.
I definitely agree with you because to add on to that as well, I think it's to be told like at the age of 18 or and this because I do a lot of support work through safe spaces, and one of the safe spaces is the Muslim MRKH group that I've created, and that just highlights to me that a lot of women who are in all different countries, they feel safe in private spaces to talk about MRKH, but there's still such a stigma, a taboo
Mhm.
to sort of just bring up topics like surrogacy or adoption or IVF. Like there's a big emphasis now, and I'm so thankful for that. All the
Mhm.
advocates, we're all working together to sort of
Yes.
create awareness that there are alternative routes to parenthood. There are, and being a mother or being a parent isn't the be all and end all.
Mhm.
We've got worth, we've
Mm.
got value in spite of all of that. And now I'm quite confident to say I'm happy where I am in my journey now.
Mhm.
So without the all the struggles and the pain that I went through,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have, like yourself,
Mhm.
become who I am today.
Mhm.
So in a way, I thank Allah, which is God. So I thank God for the struggles, for the ups, for the downs, because inevitably,
Mhm.
like um it's kind of fueling like my passion for
Yes.
turning my pain into a purpose or something that is going to help other people. And I think in terms of the way forward, we're always advocating for change within our different organizations. And there are there's Connect, there's Beautiful You, there's many other organizations as well.
Mhm.
I love to see the growth in the MRKH community because we're all aiming for better care, like
Mhm.
in all aspects, not just the physical with the dilation, but the mental side with psychological intervention, but also from a cultural point of view
Mhm.
to understand that there are struggles that Black and brown women we face. And, like at the end of the day, we do face these things on top of everything else.
Yeah.
We've got our own barriers, and it's about, you know, I hope that someone seeing me, someone seeing you
Yes.
talk about this openly today, it helps them to know that they're not alone, that we can break taboos, we can speak up.
Yeah.
Because for years I was told, shh, don't talk about it, you'll
Yeah.
bring shame to the family.
Yeah.
It was all about silence.
Mhm.
So I'm kind of like with the work that I've started to do from, I'd say 2017, 2016, 2017 onwards,
Mhm.
I started to sort of speak up. And to me, that is what I'm all about.
Yeah.
I don't know where it's going to lead, but
Mhm.
I'm hoping that others they get inspired or they get courage to
Mhm.
know that I'm not alone. There's somebody who is out there
Yeah.
speaking her truth, so maybe I can speak my truth as well. And I think that's why what you're doing, Badia, what I'm doing, what other advocates are doing, I just think it's so amazing and so necessary.
Mhm. Yes, yes, yes. Well, with that, I want to take us to our next question, and which
Mhm.
is what struggles, issues have you come across in your experiences within the MRKH community?
Oh, okay. Where do I start?
Yeah.
While there are many strengths to our community, there are also areas of struggle. So I know that dilation, just across the board, there's not much talk about it or in an open way. It's people do struggle with the
Mm,
choice, the options, like do I go for surgery? Do I go for dilation? Some people create their vaginal canal without those means and they do it in a more natural way with their partners or other halves. And to know that no one way is the best way, it's individual. Like dilation is a major issue, like in the Muslim communities,
mm,
because there's a lot of um, I come across it in my actual work that I do, support work. I get a lot of questions to me as a visible Muslim woman
mm,
in the community that, Hasna, what do I do? Like, is this going against our faith? If I do dilation outside of marriage, like that's a big question.
mm,
And I personally, I'm not a Muslim scholar myself,
mm,
so I'm learning daily myself. But I know that to me, dilation is a medical procedure.
mm,
So it's like your, to me, a medical procedure shouldn't be seen as taboo outside of marriage. Like, if that's what you want to do,
mm,
then it should be acceptable. And that's an issue that is continually coming up. Like surrogacy is another issue. There's a whole range, but a lot of it is to do with the silence and the shame element,
mm,
especially like in families of color. Like it's seen as shameful, like to be open and speak of certain things, like talking about puberty, for example. That's like a major struggle
mm,
in a lot of South Asian families, and I'm sure you're nodding your head as
mhm,
in it's. We've had discussions, haven't we, Badia, on this very fact that speaking up seems to be such a big thing. And we don't all have to be advocates and out there and all of that, but just to be able to speak your truth to
mm,
those that you care about and love
yeah.
and to be accepted for who you are, like that shouldn't be such a massive thing. And yet it is.
Yes. Hmm.
So, on that note, I'm going to ask you the same question. Like, what issues and struggles have you come across in your journey,
Yeah.
in the work that you do?
I think the struggles mainly it's two things, acceptance, and
Mm,
second one would be making sure that doctors understand, are open to understanding our community. Um, and starting with acceptance, I think within our culture and in our community, it's because we don't do a lot of talking, as you just said. Some things, well, then again, I'll take that back. Within my culture of people, what we have not done a lot of in the past was seek a doctor or go to therapy.
mm,
Whereas we would talk to our grandparents, our parents, our cousins or siblings, something like, someone like that. And when it came to any type of issues that we have. So for me, because I didn't get the proper diagnosis as I should have, then it caused me to go to maybe my pastor or my mother, mainly my mother. And she and I trying to learn it and figure it out together. She doesn't know, she's not a doctor. So we're just trying to figure it out together. And I find that some things that came along with this diagnosis and journey. Because with me, it was a lot more physical things that my body went through. Um, when it came to me trying to have sex,
Mm.
um, I didn't understand a lot of things because I wasn't given the information, so I didn't accept it. I had some issues, and this is something that I'm working through currently, where I didn't know that it was an issue for me, but it is some things. A lot of things are issues for me, but I also try to go back to that positive part. Which takes me to the doctors. So it's like you, um, one thing I did appreciate, I did one conversation with someone within our community, and it was other MRKH advocates as well. And we were talking to different doctors. And something that I mentioned was it's important that you have bedside manner.
Yes.
You got to have that. And so when it comes to Black and brown people,
Mm.
we don't, that's not our experience, is not always that the doctor is going to be kind-hearted or open or just what we need at that time. You know, I think sometimes we're viewed as just being so strong. Somebody put us in that box. I don't know who did, but we're viewed as being so strong. So we're like, this is just my thought. I'm thinking that maybe they think we can handle that. When we
It's
can't
almost like we're taught to put on a
diagnose
mask and say,
ourselves.
oh, we're fine, we're okay. And actually,
Yeah.
we might
And you're
not be
not.
okay.
Yeah. Because you don't know. If I don't know what's going on, how do I accept it?
Mhm.
So I'm
Yeah,
going to need my doctor to tell me what's going on, what's the next step, what do I do, and be open with that. So that has been some issues where I'm concerned because none of us want to go to the doctor, no matter what culture of people we are. We don't want to go
yeah,
to our doctors and go to those series of questions. And
yeah,
we all know what those questions are. So it's like in that moment, we turn from being the patient into being a teacher.
yeah. We're often the ones that are having to educate the doctor.
Yes. Yeah.
I I come across that all the time, Badia, for myself, but in like my interactions with other people with MRKH, they
Mm,
often say to me that we're having to give information and our condition, like MRKH, it's quite unique. I don't think there's been so many different like audiologists. Like I've had to explain what MRKH is. Any other diagnosis that I have, like I've got mobility issues and everything. So any doctor that I see,
mm,
even a dermatology appointment the other day, I had to explain what MRKH was like. Oh, what's this? And
mm.
there's so much work there to be done. So
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yeah. Because
And
I think what I when when I explain what MRKH is, I have gotten this response. Oh, I remember seeing that in my textbook. I
okay.
remember that they mentioned that in my studies. Well, then my response is, then it must be a thing. So why haven't you? Or why? Maybe because it's 1 in 5,000
Mhm.
that may walk into your practice or that you may meet that are born with this condition. But it's just a lot when it comes to the issues. We can go on and on as
Yeah.
to the things that we experience. But one thing I will say, Hasna, is that our friends that are in other cultures have some of the same, may not be the
Yeah.
same, but some of the same experiences. And that kind of makes me feel better a little bit. I don't know if that's the right thing to say, but it makes me feel better because I'm like, well,
Makes you feel less alone. Like,
less alone. That's
yeah.
what it is. Less alone because you just want to make sure that it's not just about the color of my skin.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I would like to add to that because
Yeah.
actually, even in my support work that I do, whether that's through Connect or the Muslim group, and just in general. Um, and Beautiful You, like it's the from all the interactions I have, like it's people from all different cultures, not necessarily just like from people of color. It's we get all like what I love to see is there are some common struggles that we all face.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it is like the whole shame and silence thing. It isn't just for our communities. There's a, it all just depends on the family that you have, the doctor, the medical experience that you have.
Mm-hmm.
It's all of that seems to shape how people see themselves. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it almost transcends sometimes the like who we
Hmm.
are individually
Yeah, yeah.
as a condition. It's just like quite there's quite a lot of work yet to be done
Mm-hmm.
in an overall sense. And for people of color, like it's I just see it as you can look at it as two separate issues, but I think they are as well. But it's it's nice to actually know that we aren't alone and there's commonality to be found in the struggles. But I also love that we're like look at Connect, look at Beautiful You. We've got such a wide and varied group of advocates who are, you know, we're all fighting for the same like kind of
Mm-hmm.
issues. And I love the space that we've been given. And also, it's not the space that we're given, it's space that we need and space that we should command and say, yep, this is what needs to happen. This is the
Yeah.
change.
Mm-hmm.
Change comes from all of us working together. And on that note, I'm going to say, um, like keeping in mind, there are many other conversations that Badia
Yes.
and myself will be having
Yeah.
in the near future.
Mm-hmm.
But for today, I think we've touched on certain topics and certain elements, and it's been an absolute pleasure, Badia, to be speaking with you today. And because this is part of Connect Live, um, like there are other segments that are going to be happening, and I'd just like to wrap up here
All
and
right.
long may our conversations continue, Badia.
Yes, 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 yes. Much needed. Much
Yeah,
needed. I'm grateful for this opportunity. I thank MRKH Connect and as well as my sister Hasna for just being open with me and allowing me to feel comfortable in sharing my journey along with her sharing hers. Thank you for the
yeah.
opportunity.
Thank you.